Episode 22 of the Belleville Sens podcast is here, and a bit of a different sound this week as Joel Vanderlaan off on a much-deserved, much-needed vacation this week. Pinch hitting for him is Brock Ormond from Starboard Communications and the In-Quinte News team. You'll remember Brock if you tuned into a good chunk of the home games last season on the Belleville Sens Entertainment Network. Brock does color commentary for us and has covered the team for a handful of years, both with In-Quinte and in our former time as co-workers at Quinte News. And Brock is here to help us keep the needle bouncing this week. How's it going, Brock? Thanks for dropping by.
Yeah, going great, Footy. Great to have me on here and great to be on here. This is outstanding stuff. I've listened to many of the podcasts you and Joel have done throughout the season and the off-season, and it's just outstanding to actually be here in the flesh and talk about the Belleville Sens, because it's been a pretty exciting off-season and great season as well. Even though things didn't quite end the way the team wanted, it was still very entertaining to watch, and looking forward to what's ahead in 2023-24.
Looking forward to what else is ahead on the show this week as well. We're going to be joined by one of the newest re-signees for the Senators. Forward Graham McPhee will join us on the line, and we'll have another edition of Get to Know Your Front Office, Get to Know Your FO with Brayden Munro, who has recently joined our club in the ticketing department. So that's all coming up this week. And like Brock said, we want to talk a little bit about last season and your experience. Frankly, there's not a lot going on around the Belleville Sens right now. We had that flurry of re-signings a couple of weeks ago. The biggest news came out of the Board of Governors meetings in Hilton Head, South Carolina last week. They do the annual awards as well, and the Belleville Senators won I will call it a fairly prestigious award, but we'll leave you hanging for a few moments on that as well. Brock, but let's get to maybe just your thoughts on the season overall last year as a whole. Like I said, you've been covering this team for a few years, but last season was kind of your first to really get in, I guess, up close and personal and be around on a regular basis.
Yeah, it was quite the experience, to say the least, starting off, coming off of that great season in 21-22 when the Sens had a great push against the Rochester Americans in that first round. Best of three. Unfortunately, didn't end the way they wanted it, but I was glad to be able to cover part of that season. And really, since the very beginning, 17-18 was the first year, and going to see the home opener, and it was just such a grand feeling to see hockey back in Belleville after a long. Well, it felt like eternity off, like 2 years without hockey here in Belleville. There's other hockey going on around the Quinte region, but Belleville Senators came in, and again, I was quite hooked. I wasn't quite sure what to expect with pro hockey coming into Belleville, being a smaller area in that, and especially after 34 years of the Bulls being here. But it was great to see, and then getting a chance to call games with you and talk to Joel and Alex Smith, our digital media guy. It was just such an entertaining aspect and such an entertaining season to watch, and the Sens definitely had a lot of positives to draw from, despite the tough year on many fronts with injuries, call-ups, the coaching change in early February, Troy Mann going to Dave Bell, but lots of positives. Like I said, Angus Crookshank had quite frankly a lost season in 2021-22, but he came back after his injury, led the team in goals with 26. One of my personal favorite players to watch. Him, Scott Sabrin, Jake Lucchini with 53 points in 61 games, parlayed that into a deal with the Minnesota Wild in the NHL, like you guys were mentioning in past podcasts. Igor Sokolov leading the team in points. He had himself a heck of a year, earned himself a call-up to the O-Sens as well. And then the goaltenders, even though it was a tough year, obviously, with 9 or 10 goaltenders flowed through. Antoine Bibeau with his 50-save performance. That was supremely entertaining against Laval. And then Dylan Ferguson coming in late, doing an excellent job. Levi Marilinen was spectacular. That pretty sure was the last game I did with you, David, against the Toronto Marlies. Unbelievable. Shutout in his one of his first pro starts. Just an incredible performance from him. And then Kevin Mandolese making stops in all 3 professional levels. It was kind of nice to see him go through all those rankings, like the NHL with Ottawa, here in Belleville in the AHL, and then the ECHL with the Allen Americans, and doing so well in the playoffs down there. So all in all, a pretty entertaining season. Dave Bell did the most with what he had. Pretty much led them to a 500 record, and given the circumstances with all the injuries and all the call-ups, like I mentioned, it was pretty great to see Dave Bell doing what he did, moving from Troy Mann's right-hand man to being the main guy, and now he's taken over as the full-time head coach, so great to see him do so well. But just seeing the Sens up close, you can really appreciate the speed and the finesse and just the overall just fast pace of the game. And again, it's a bit of a culture shock from the junior ranks, but it's still really amazing to see. And I mean, the Belleville Sens do such a good job with developing players, and eventually you're going to see in Ottawa some of these guys come up, just like the ones before with Batherson and Norris and so many other guys. Lassie Thompson as well has made appearances up there. So I'm going to be very entertained to see what happens next in 2023-24. I'm really looking forward to seeing how these new guys pan out.
Yeah, we are for sure. Again, we're chatting with Brock Ormond, who's co-hosting on episode 22 of the Belleville Sens podcast, a conversation with Graham McPhee, Senators forward, coming up. I'd imagine his offseason got a little bit more interesting after his father's Vegas Golden Knights won the Stanley Cup. Of course, George McPhee, the GM of the Golden Knights, and Brayden Munro from our ticketing department coming up a little bit later on as well this week on the Belleville Sens podcast. You mentioned the coaching change, and that was something that we'd never gone through in this franchise before. It's something that, as we learned, was quite rare to happen mid-season in the American Hockey League. I think the team handled it fine. They managed to get through it. Like you said, Dave Bell did the best with what he had at that point in the year. But now he's got an opportunity to really mold not just the roster and the players, but the entire culture around his dressing room now. How much are you looking forward to seeing the type of change he's able to implement in terms of this program and what it's going to become now?
Yeah, he's got the experience, like we said, from being around here a couple of years now with Troy Mann. So it's not like he's a new guy flying in out of nowhere to take over this Belleville Sens team. He's a guy that's been around the block. He's not just here, but also all around the coaching ranks. He was just in Niagara in the OHL before that. So I think he's got, if there's anybody that has the ability to turn a team around and be an outstanding coach and a mentor and a leader for this team, it's Dave Bell for sure. And he's a guy that's got the same sort of intensity, just in a different way that Troy Mann does. And you would know it too from being on the road with the team. Yeah, Dave Bell's a guy that lives, breathes, sleeps hockey, and he's a guy that will definitely be the type to get the most out of his players. And Troy Mann did that too, but Dave Bell's a new voice, a new face, and a new guy that will kind of lead the way and be the type of coach that people can learn from. And he's 48 years old. He knows hockey, and he knows the AHL. He knows all these different levels, and he's the type of person that if you can go into the coach's office and ask him any questions, he'll be able to answer it. And just judging by seeing him around and seeing him, what he's like and what makes him tick, he's going to be quite the big coach, the big leader for this Belleville Sens team.
Yeah, absolutely. We've already seen kind of his imprint on things in terms of player personnel. Scott Sabrin leaving to go west, which is a big loss for the Senators, but a player like Boku Imama is coming in to replace him. This is a guy that Bellsy knows from his time out in Ontario and the Kings organization, and that's just an example of the type of impact, again, that he's going to have in helping to build this program the way that he kind of wants it to be. Speaking of Boko and a handful of other signings, anybody in particular that you're excited to see on the ice here that wasn't here last year? Yeah,
Boko and Mama for sure. I mean, seeing pictures of him, the guy is an absolute specimen. He is huge.
He is, and I should just obviously preface, this is should these players not end up in the National Hockey League, because we always have to take that lens that players will or could end up here, but we never obviously want to take that opportunity of the NHL away from guys. So that in mind, yes, should these players we're discussing end up here, these are who we're excited to see.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's another part of the NHL AHL experience. It's so different from junior, where some guys go to school, some guys go to pro, some guys go wherever, and that's not a guarantee they'll play in in pro hockey, though. But here in the AHL, guys have been here in professional hockey. Some of them have been in the NHL before. And, yeah, Boko Imam is going to be a very entertaining player to watch if he sticks here in Belleville and if he plays the way that everybody knows he can play. And he's a very entertaining character. Some and highlights in Arizona last year with fighting and hitting and doing everything he could, and then all his family down too. So watch him score his first professional goal, or first NHL goal, I should say. So he's a guy that you really want to root for. And Matt Highmore coming in as well, former St. John Sea Dog, and he won a Memorial Cup. He's a guy that I'm really interested to see. He's a guy that can score. He can really put the puck in the net, and he can play hard along the boards. He's not just the type of guy that can just play strictly finesse. He's a guy that can play the game hard, and also you got a guy like Donovan Sabrango coming over from the Detroit Red Wings in that Alex DeBrincat trade. Very smooth, mobile defenseman, a former Kitchener Ranger, so I'm very interested to see how his game parlays here. He's a little bit closer to home now. And then Tyler Boucher as well, coming from university. Son of former NHL goalie Brian Boucher. He's a guy that's going to have a lot of expectations on him, though, because Ottawa took him pretty high in the draft, in his draft year at 10th overall, so he's going to be the type that has a lot of pressure on him, but he's another one in the same vein as a Boko Imama that can hit and really play a greasy, dirty game that sometimes is not always what guys want to play. They want to be known as the flashy finesse guys that can put the puck in the net and really dazzle the crowd, but Tyler Boucher is the guy that you need to have on your team, and also Ryan McKinnon, a defenseman that should be pretty solid as well coming in, and learning from a guy like Nate McIver, the new assistant coach you guys talked to. He is going to be quite the guy to watch to see how he kind of develops and how he learns under a guy like McIver and Dave Bell, another former defenseman. So I'm very interested to see.
If you want to learn more about Nate McIver, you can tune into last week's episode 21. The new assistant coach joined Joel and I for a chat about making the move to the Friendly City and what he hopes to add to the staff here. And, just to finish the thought on Tyler Boucher, he's had a little bit of injury trouble. Fans in Ottawa already know the type of player he can be, as he really excelled with the 67s last year, and just another name to add to the list of significant prospects that will be or could be suiting up for the Belleville Sens this season, trying to make their mark and get that call up to the National Hockey League. Before we take a break and are joined by Graham McPhee on the other side, mentioned it earlier on that the Board of Governors meetings were held in Hilton Head, South Carolina last weekend. Our Senior Vice President, Business Operations and alternate governor, Brianne Matthews, was down there representing the Belleville Senators. And this is the summer meetings, basically when they discuss potential rule changes. The schedule's been finalized by this point, but they might iron out some wrinkles. They just go over the general business of the league. But the other thing they do is hand out some of the league awards of excellence and a couple of local connections, one being that the Belleville Senators won the award for community service excellence, and the other, the James C. Hendy Award for the Executive of the Year, went to Brian Helmer, who is the Senior Vice President, Hockey Operations with the Hershey Bears, and our friends in Wellington would know him very well as the first, and I still think only, Wellington Duke to have their number retired. So a couple of nice local-ish accolades out of that conference last week. Yeah, that's amazing. Brian Helmer, such a great guy. Hershey Bears winning the Calder Cup, like you said, just so awesome to see Brian Helmer find his way into that mold and that. And yeah, his 44 is the only number that's hanging on the back wall of Lehigh Arena currently in Wellington, and he was just an energizing player when he played, and unfortunately maybe didn't get as many NHL games as maybe people were expecting, but he did well to get a job in the AHL, and with the Hershey Bears, he has been there for just ages, it seems, just eons, and he's found a way to really lead this Hershey team along. They were a pretty top-flight group back then, or this season, I should say, and still back then as well. Ended up coming here and winning in Belleville in a comeback fashion. Then they go on to beat Coachella Valley in the final. It was exciting for sure. And again, Belleville Sens winners of the Eastern Conference Award for Community Service Excellence. Our school program was the big piece of that. We were at over a dozen schools last season. We plan to hit the schools again this season. There is some more exciting kids and community programming news on the way. I can't let you in on it just yet, but next week we should have some news, so you want to stay tuned on that front. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the show wherever you're listening. Drop us a review and a rating as well, and stay with us as we continue on episode 22 of the Belleville Sens podcast. Graham McPhee will join us next. The Sens forward has re-signed for another season in Belleville. Back in a moment.
Get in the game. Start planning now for the next season of Belleville Senators hockey. The new Belleville Sens Business Elite program is a season seat membership just for business. Use tickets to treat your staff or attract new clients. Benefits include AHL TV game packages, exclusive member events, and more. All packages offer a VIP business experience like in-arena signage. More info on season seat memberships, flex packs, and the Business Elite program at BellevilleSens.com. Go, Sens, go!
Back on episode 22 of the Belleville Sens podcast. David Foote here and Brock Ormond, pinch hitting for Joel Vanderlaan this week. Glad you're sticking with us, and you'll want to stick with us for our next segment, as joining us on the line from Minnesota, where he makes his home in the offseason, is newly re-signed Senators forward Graham McPhee. How's it going, Mac? Thanks for taking some time for us.
Everything's going great. It's nice to talk to you guys for a bit this summer.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the new deal. I think when we last spoke before that at exit interviews, you weren't really sure what the summer was going to look like, if you would be back in Belleville, and now we know that you will be. How did that process kind of shake down, and what was it about the Senators that made it an easy decision to come back?
Yeah, well, as you guys know, I was traded last year at the end of the season with about 5 or 6 weeks left to go. And I was excited for the move, excited to get some opportunity, and that's exactly what I got from Belleville. And honestly, I had zero complaints with everything in terms of the team, the staff, the way I was treated. Everything was just fantastic. So when I got the opportunity to re-sign and come back, I didn't have much hesitation, and I kind of did it with my gut. So I'm really looking forward to the season, and I'm happy where things are going.
You were able to pretty seamlessly fit in last season in that short time. How nice will it be to have a full off season of preparation and to start here from the jump?
Yeah. Like I said, it's hard to step into new teams, obviously, when the season's going. But again, I was open with welcome arms, and everyone was super friendly and super welcoming. So it does make that transition a little more smooth, knowing some familiar faces. So I'm just looking forward to getting back and getting things going again.
Yeah, nice to talk to you, Graham. You had quite the whirlwind season last year. You had a stop in Belleville at the end, but you also spent time in Bakersfield, out in California, Fort Wayne as well, at Fort Wayne Comets in the ECHL. What did you kind of learn about yourself and your career at 25 years old, trying to find your way in the American Hockey League?
Yeah, pro hockey, it's a roller coaster. And the past few seasons, I've actually had shoulder surgery. So this is the first summer where I've been able to train and be healthy and kind of focus on working in the weight room and kind of fine-tuning my game without having to rehab something. So that's one thing that I'm really looking forward to, is starting the season with a healthy body and a good mindset. So that's something that I really look forward to this year.
Yeah, and now back kind of in your younger days, you were born in Maryland, Dad George, GM of the Washington Capitals for years. What was it like going from making the jump from the U17, U18 U.S. program to Boston College as well, playing 4 years with that program with the Eagles? What was kind of that like, moving from minor hockey to the big jump of college hockey?
Right. Going to college was always a priority for me, to get my education, first of all, and also to get to play against some older guys. That's how it's different than junior. You get to play against, 21, 22-year-old guys when you're younger. And I think that really prepared me for the pro game, because obviously when you make that jump, there's a difference with strength and just maturity. So I think moving from college to pro helped me quite a bit with that transition. But but yeah, no, college was great, and again, it helped me a lot for pro. So.
Chatting with Sens forward Graham McPhee, who's out in Minnesota as the offseason continues. Brock mentioned your dad, George, who had a pretty eventful last couple of months. What was it like kind of being along for the ride to watch him and his Golden Knights find that type of success?
Yeah, my dad, I've been so fortunate to have a father that's so involved in hockey. Since I was a young kid, I was always surrounded by that pro lifestyle, which was really, really cool for me. But just to be able to watch him kind of achieve his goal for the first time this year was really special. Because my whole life I've seen him lose in the playoffs, and that's not the easiest thing for him and my family. But this year was super cool. He deserves all of it, and just to be there and celebrate with him was something special that I'll remember forever. So.
Obviously you don't play in the Vegas organization, but what was that experience, I guess, like just kind of being around there? And I mean, we all watch it from the outside, and it looks like quite the time. Now, I would imagine it lived up to what it looked like on TV.
Yeah, I actually wasn't in town. I was on vacation with my wife and her family for that last final game where they clinched the series. But we flew home and we got back for the parade within like 20 minutes of it. Got right down to the strip, got on the buses, and just kind of watching that city come together as a sports town for the first time was pretty cool. A lot of people didn't really know how things were going to go. Hockey in the desert didn't seem like it was going to be such a big hit, and after that shooting that happened in Vegas, it really brought the city together. And that team was born in Vegas, built in Vegas, and the city really stands behind those guys. So to finally watch them after 5 years win the cup was really special. And that city supports them like nothing I've ever seen before. So it's pretty cool to kind of be on the outside looking in. Yeah.
And to bring it down to a smaller scale, from our standpoint, I think that kind of fan support can make such a huge difference. And I mean, I might sound like a broken record. I say it to people all the time. I don't think fans realize the impact that they can make in a game, especially a tight one. From your perspective, how much of a difference does that make?
From a player's perspective, it's huge. The littlest bits of momentum in hockey are so important. So if you have a crowd behind you or a fan base to make some noise after a hit or a goal, it really does motivate the players. Because in hockey, it's a tiring sport. You need that extra energy. So anything you can get from a fan base is huge.
Yeah. And the Senators last week were actually awarded for the community impact we've been making, and I know you did a couple of those school visits as well, and we're going to be growing those programs through this season as well. That's a really big piece of things at the American Hockey League level, right?
Totally. Anything that I could do in any community where I play is important to me. And like you said, I did get to visit a school while I was in Belleville, and that's awesome. Just being able to connect with kids and the school community. I remember being that age and getting to see a pro hockey player that I looked up to is so important. Just so you can set goals and kind of have role models, you know what I mean? And Belleville was great for my wife and I in the short time that we were there. And we're both really excited to be back in the community and to be able to give in any way that we can. So.
Yeah, and speaking of setting goals, Graham, what's kind of your goals for the upcoming season? Obviously, as a team to win, but also for you, like on the ice, in the dressing room, out in the community, like you said, or in the weight room or wherever. Where do you see yourself, and what are your goals that you want to push towards this upcoming season?
Yeah, again, first and foremost, I'm really looking forward to having a big year on the ice. And a healthy year. Again, like I said, this is the first time where I've been healthy going into a season, and for me, that's really important. And any way that I can help the team, whether that's offensively, defensively, I take a lot of pride in being a competitive character guy, whether that's in the locker room or in a tight game, anything. Like I'm always going to go and put my neck on the line for the guys next to me, and just being a competitive, hardworking teammate that's willing to push guys and push myself and just help achieve a bigger goal for everyone. So that's about it.
What does the rest of the offseason look like for you in trying to reach those goals?
So right now I've got a really good pro group here in Minnesota. As you guys know, it's a hockey hotbed here, similar to Ontario or Boston, New York. So I'm pretty lucky with that. I've got plenty of ice time here, just training every day, skating every other day, and counting down the days till training camp. So it's getting to be that time of year, and I'm getting excited. So anything to fine tune off the ice or on the ice is now, and that's about it.
We're getting excited as well for the start of the season. The home opener is October 21st, and we're looking forward to introducing Graham and the rest of his teammates that night as well. Thanks again for this, Mac. Appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of the summer. We'll see you in a few weeks.
Yeah, you guys as well. Thank you so much.
Sens forward Graham McPhee on the Belleville Sens podcast. We're back in a moment with our next installment of Get to Know Your FO, Get to Know Your Front Office. Brayden Munro will join us, so stay with us on the Belleville Sens podcast.
Don't miss 1 second of Belleville Senators action this season. The Belleville Sens Entertainment Network is the only place to hear live coverage of the Belleville Senators for all 72 games plus playoffs. Pre-game coverage begins 15 minutes before each game with David Foote, and the network is also home to the Belleville Sens podcast, the Belleville Senators Entertainment Network, presented by Deer Haven Farm and Garden. Tune in on the Belleville Sens app or BellevilleSens.com.
Segment 3 of episode 22 of the Belleville Sens podcast. Thanks again to Graham McPhee for his time. We'll have more on Graham and his teammates throughout the course of the off-season, as we'll see who else we can dig up next week. I think Angus Cruikshank might be already lined up, so look forward to that next week. Again, don't forget to subscribe to the show wherever it is you're listening, and then you won't miss next week's episode when it comes out. David Foote here, Brock Ormond pinch hitting for Joel Vanderlaan on this week's episode, and glad to have you along with us for the show as well. Time for everybody's favorite segment, Get to Know Your FO, Get to Know Your Front Office. If you've been following along with the program since episode 1, you'll know this is something that we've been doing going back into the end of last season, but since the season ended, we've added probably 6 new staff members as our front office continues to grow, and one of those new staff members is with us right now. Brayden Munro joins us from the ticketing department, and as is tradition on Get to Know Your FO, because I don't know anybody's titles, Brayden is going to start by telling us his title.
Yeah, no, pleasure to be here with you guys. But yeah, no, my role here is account executive at ticket sales and service.
Perfect. That easy. I should have been able to know that one.
Oh, it's all right.
No, it's
Yeah,
all right.
too many people around the office these days.
Lots of new hires.
Yeah, and too many double names. You become the third Brayden to work in the Belleville Sens front office in franchise history, but the second currently. And it's only led to like minor confusion.
Oh yeah, no. A lot of the times when I first got here, I'd hear someone say, "Hey, Brayden," from across the office, and I'd just peek my head over the desk, and I realized, wait, no, they're not talking to me; they're talking to the other one. But no, it's an adjustment that I'm learning in the office, and I mean the other Brayden as well has to kind of learn as well.
He's got to deal with it. 2 Braydens, 3 Alexes. If you include the coach, a couple of Davids. We get through. We get by like everybody else does. Let's talk about your journey a little bit to getting here. You were at Durham College for 4 years, sports management, and what was your other program?
Data analytics.
Right,
yeah.
that's right. So how did you end up here in Belleville?
Yeah, so I went through that program at Durham in sports management. Got some valuable experience there just through what they taught me in the program, as well as the internship that I did with the Oshawa Generals for that half part of the season. And then after I finished that internship, I wanted to kind of expand my knowledge a little bit more because I know that data is kind of growing within sports. Mm-hmm. So I figured I might as well learn that and, enhance my knowledge in the hopes that maybe someday it will help me down the road in career in hockey or another sport. But while taking that program, I believe it was sometime in March or April I saw. But there was the first job posting with Jillian, who was on the podcast last week. So I applied for that position and came in for an interview, met with Brianne. She said, I really like you. I think you'd be a good fit for the team. However, if you don't get the position, apply for this account executive role that's coming up in the summertime. So I saw that pop up, I believe in May, and now I'm here, a part of the team.
And you've been a great addition to the team as well. From Scarborough, and I know that is Leafland.
Yeah.
Typically, was it you that I was chatting with about there not being such a Leaf-friendly history in the family, or was that somebody else?
Yeah, I believe that was me.
Yeah.
So growing up, I wasn't the biggest hockey fan. In fact, I first loved soccer. That was the first sport that I really grew attached to. However, I had a grandfather and a grandmother. She's still living up in Ottawa, but they've been season ticket holders since the Ottawa Senators got up there. And so I've been able to go to the facility up there in Canada a couple times with them when I was younger. And I've been it's kind of a family feud we got. But no, it's been great. And even though right now I'm a Leafs fan because I grew up around that culture, I will say, Ottawa would be my second favorite team.
Well, and again, you're just another example of what we're trying to tell the Leaf fans who live in the Bay of Quinte region, that we want everybody to be Sens fans, but at the end of the day, as long as you're a Belleville Sens fan, that's what matters.
Absolutely.
We really don't care who you cheer for otherwise. But we'd love for you to support our club here in the friendly city. We're chatting with Brayden Munro from our ticket sales and service department. What's been the biggest adjustment, or what's the adjustment been like in getting out of school right into your first full-time job in sports?
Yeah, so the first hardest challenge that I came up with just getting here was finding a place to even live.
Yeah, it's funny. That's kind of been at the top of the list of most of the new people we've chatted with.
Yeah, no, but fortunately enough, myself and my family, we live just an hour and a half down the road. So I came up here a couple days, just kind of scouted the area, seeing what places were available, and was able to happen to find a place just down the road here. And it's been great. The hardest adjustment in terms of the office is just getting used to, I guess, the open space that we have. There's a lot of voices going on at once.
It can be a wee bit distracting.
And as a sales guy, it's hard to really keep focused when your main objective is to be making the phone calls and reaching out to customers. But it's been a challenge, and I'm still learning to deal with it. But I feel like the biggest thing that I've had to learn just myself is becoming more confident with the sale calls that I'm making, how I'm promoting the different packages, becoming a season seat member as well. That's been the biggest challenges for me so far. But great team around. Everyone's been very helpful with giving me advice, giving me pointers. So really loving it here.
Yeah, and now since you've been working in the job and kind of reaching out to people, and is that kind of something that you're comfortable with, reaching out to people and trying to cultivate new relationships? Like what's that kind of been like?
Yeah, so it is a little bit challenging in that sense as well, just knowing what exactly to say to get them engaged. But I know that this community here, they all support the Belleville Sens proudly. And the biggest thing which I've tried to do myself is just understanding that, even though I'm talking to a customer, I got to try and be more confident in myself. Like I said, just try and grow confidence in how I'm promoting everything. Because it does get a little bit nerve-wracking when, you're talking to them, you might mess up something, and then you got to go back on your word. But I've just been trying to gain confidence, and I've been doing that with every single call that I've been making.
Oh, that's amazing. And in terms of like future goals for the season and that, what are you kind of aiming to get in terms of the future goals and something like kind of personal achievements that you want to reach?
Yeah, well, as a whole team, I can speak for myself and probably for the entire sales team that we got here. I think the biggest thing that we've been working towards is trying to get people to really come out and pack the stadium. I believe last year they weren't happy necessarily with the amount of people that were coming into attendance on an average basis. So that's something that we're really trying to push, trying to make sure that we contact as many customers as we can, just try and see if we can get some even new customers that haven't been to the Belleville Senders games yet, and just grow our overall attendance. Because overall, with fans here, they're supporting not only just us here in the front office, but as well the team that's going out there on the ice.
And as you heard from Graham McPhee in our last segment, you being in the building makes a big impact for those players. It does make a difference. We're chatting with Brayden Munro from our ticket sales and service department, and the service aspect of that title is kind of an interesting thing. Like, as much as your job is to sell tickets and to help get people in the building, it's also to listen to those clients, those fans, and to hear their concerns and try and address them, which we are doing as an organization. If you haven't heard yet, one of the concerns we'd heard in recent years was not enough afternoon games. Well, we've got 4 of them on the schedule this year. So just as a note for the listeners, if you have a concern, don't be afraid to bring it to somebody like Brayden, whoever your account rep might be. That feedback always makes its way up the flagpole, and we do our best to trickle some results back down the other way. So what's that side of things kind of been like for you?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of customers that are like, oh, I'm not too sure if I'll be able to make it out to games because of my schedule. They may have sons, daughters who they currently are playing hockey. And, it's the summertime, so they're not sure what their schedules exactly are going to entail when the season for us starts. But the biggest thing that we've been trying to push as a sales team is just the flex packages, just because they're great for families who, their schedules might be not the best for attending games here with us that often. However, they're able to pick the games that do work around, their busy schedule. They're able to even get, discounts as opposed to purchasing from the box office the day of games. So overall, I feel like the flex pack has been the big thing that we've been trying to push those customers who do have concerns about attending.
And one of the nice things as well about buying your tickets through one of our ticket representatives instead of just online is that, let's say I bought a flex pack. Crap, turns out I can't make the game that I was hoping to get to. I can just call you up and swap my tickets out.
Exactly, yeah. So if there's ever a time when customers intended on going to a game, they already exchanged their vouchers for those tickets, and they aren't able to attend, you're able to call us back. You're able to tell us, hey, I have something coming up now. I'm not able to attend. But us as a sales team, we're able to exchange those, get you back your vouchers, and that way you don't waste any tickets and you're able to come out to another game that fits your schedule.
Yeah, again, the most flexible, obviously, option in terms of ticket buying is the Flex Pack. You can get details on that. And all our ticket packages, if you want to do your own research at BellevilleSens.com. If you want a little bit of help doing the research, email tickets at BellevilleSens.com. Or you can email Brayden directly, Munro B. at BellevilleSens.com.
Munro B at BellevilleSens.com.
All right. Lastly, what are you looking forward to most about the season coming?
Oh, God, just the atmosphere. I got a little taste of it in junior hockey, obviously, with the Oshawa Generals, but I know when it comes to professional hockey, it's a whole different beast in itself. So I'm just really looking forward to getting to work with this group that we got here in the front office, get to see the product on the ice, and, hopefully fans come out and show their support.
It's not far away now. Again, the season starts in October, and if you want to get your tickets now, the schedule's out. You can pick your dates and your games to bring out your group or get your flex pack or buy a season seat membership. And Brayden is one of the handful of excellent folks in our ticket sales and service department that would love to help you get that done. Thanks again for the time, man. Great job.
Thank you, David. Pleasure to be here.
All right, we'll take a quick break, and then Brock and I will wrap up episode 22 of the Belleville Sens podcast.
Get in the game. Start planning now for the next season of Belleville Senators hockey. The new Belleville Sens Business Elite program is a season seat membership just for business. Use tickets to treat your staff or attract new clients. Benefits include AHL TV game packages, exclusive member events, and more. All packages offer a VIP business experience like in-arena signage. More info on season seat memberships, flex packs, and the Business Elite program at BellevilleSens.com. Go, Sens, go!
All right, just a few minutes left here on episode 22 of the Belleville Sens podcast. David Foote, Brock Ormond, wrapping up what has been a pretty informative and, for me, entertaining episode, given the, even though we didn't have much news, really, to report this week.
No, it was great to have Brayden Munro on, and we'll see him more around the rink as the season starts to get going a little bit, and very interesting to see how his job unfolds, as well as everybody else in the office with all the returnees and all the new people. Should be a good mix.
Yeah, it absolutely should. Thanks as well to Graham McPhee again for his time, and congratulations to his dad, George, on the Stanley Cup win. That's pretty cool, and interesting to get that kind of perspective, because, again, obviously the Senators, and kind of like we were talking about fandom with Brayden, like the Senators, that's our main primary interest, but the world of hockey is so small, and it's difficult to not kind of have those branched out relationships and connections to other teams in other leagues, and that was really cool to get some perspective on what his dad has gone through as a longtime general manager in the National Hockey League. Yeah,
absolutely. And Graham McPhee seems like he's got a pretty good head in his shoulders, and he's a guy that works hard. Like he's may not be the most talented guy naturally, but he definitely on the ice, from the instances I saw of him last year, he's a guy that really works hard, puts his neck on the line. Like you said, he's going to do that for his teammates. He's going to put his neck on the line and do everything possible to win and be a coachable player and a good teammate all the way around, and a guy that's just great in the room. And he obviously learned a lot of that from George, because he played as well. Let's not forget, he played in minor pro as well as being a GM in Washington and Vegas, and finally gets a chance to raise that Stanley Cup over his shoulders. That's the culmination of a huge amount of work and blood, sweat, and tears, and tireless efforts to get to that point. So congrats to George and the entire McPhee family.
This has been the culmination of a fair amount of effort as well. Maybe not as much as winning a Stanley Cup, but the show has been great. What's the rest of the summer look like for you, Brock, before we hear you next in October?
Yeah, just relaxing, trying to get as much golf in as possible, as well as building getting a new indoor swimming pool as well, and then the garage. So that's going to be quite the entertaining thing. By September, hoping to have that in, and just building the roof of the garage right now and getting some insulation in, and everything is going to be peachy by September, hopefully.
The Billets are going to like that, eh?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, getting our guy from Virginia back for next season for the Wellington Dukes. So great to have him back as one of the few returning players for the Dukes this year. So looking forward to that season, as well as the Trenton Golden Hawks, as well as the Belleville Senators here, and glad to get back in the booth and call some games with you as well.
Yeah, we are looking forward to that. Thanks again for filling in this week, Brock Ormond, and Joel will be back next week. One more thank you to Brayden Munro and to Graham McPhee for their time, and of course to you for listening. Rate, review, subscribe to the show, and follow us on socials at Belleville Sens. We'll talk to you next week on the Belleville Sens podcast.